Hello everybody, welcome to Crafty Soup. My name is Misty. Today I am here with a big layout share. It is a load month for me, which means layout a day, and that is a project hosted over at scraphappy.org, which is a membership group. If you are ever interested in trying out this load event, the ones happening in February and in May of every year are open to the public to purchase as an independent event. You don't have to be a member of our group for one of those. There's also a very small one in the summer, which is 1 week long instead of an entire month long. And there's a freebie trial of a previous summer 1 week event that is available on the website. I will leave you links to all of that stuff down below. So my plan today is to go over the layouts that I've made so far in the month of February as part of the Load Challenge. Let me switch my screen over so we can see my face and my table, and we'll get to it. All right, here we go. Here is my stack of layouts. I'm gonna try and check out the prompt as we go. We have an overarching theme every load, and we don't scrapbook about that theme, but we use that theme to come up with story ideas and technique ideas. So the first day was based on Michael J. Fox. Oh, our theme for this month is the Back to the Future movie. So Michael J. Fox had the starring role in that movie, and our prompt was to talk about something from history that is still a part of your life today, and the technique prompt was to use the letter J in a title. So I did a 30-year anniversary wedding layout. Now, I didn't make this layout, and in fact, I almost forgot to do my layout on the very first day of load, just because getting back into the role of a layout a day can be a little tricky. So this background I created at a Crop and Create event several years ago, and it's just been sitting in my stash ever since until I had a good use for it, and today was that day. This is an original wedding photo that I pulled out of my photo album. Now, normally I wouldn't use original photos if I didn't have digital backups, but there were like 600 extra photos, and so this was just a copy from our photo album. So that is that, and this is us on our 30th anniversary road trip that we took to celebrate, and I used my J in, just 30 years later. So that is how my title and the technique and story prompt worked out for that one. Trying to find some space on my desk because it's a mess to set these layouts as we go. Pardon the noise there. Well, that mostly gets it off screen. All right, day 2, if I come check, was about the inventions of Doc Brown in the movie, and the story prompt was to talk about something that you have on automatic and then use gears or something that fits together on your layout. I'm not so sure I did the technique prompt, but my story prompt is how my mornings are on automatic, where I just get up, make my coffee, and make my banana peanut butter toast for breakfast, so I don't have to think because I'm not a morning person. And I used my Counterfeit kit for the month of February, and if you don't know about that, I'm on another design team where we build our own scrapbooking kits, and we use them throughout the month with some challenges and such. So I will leave you links to that as well. I had a lot of fiber and ribbons in my kit this month, so I added some of that, and I kind of made it look like a banana peel in terms of like opening the folded corners of the ribbon. And then one of the load comments that I got was that it looks like napkins, and yes, it does. It looks like both, so there we go. I didn't even think about that when I was doing it. I had something else in my brain. So that is day 2. All right, day 3 was about the speakers that explode in the early on in the movie, and the story is to, let's see, scrapbook a moment you lived so enthusiastically that it was a blow up or memorable moment. And then the technique was to use some exciting movement. So I did not do the story. In fact, this is the opposite. This was a moment that was very slow and the opposite of what we wanted, which was a Thanksgiving dinner that had gotten canceled because we were supposed to be with a group, but people were getting sick, and so it got canceled, and it ended up just being our small family. But I did create a lot of movement with the colors of some mixed media down here on this piece of paper. So that is that story. So day 4 was about the clock tower in the movie, and the prompt says scrapbook about a moment where you felt the impact of a timeline or a clock, and then to use a clock or a timepiece. So I actually have a double page layout for this one. Let me pull this out. Does it fit on the whole camera screen? Just about. So of course my face is in the way. I can take that off for a moment. There we go. Now you can see more of the layout without my face in the way. My youngest just turned 18, and that makes me feel very old, so I'm definitely feeling the impact of a timeline. And I actually used a timeline, and I chose some different photos from different parts of her life, different memorable moments, and like some things I might not have ever scrapbooked about. Like this is when she was 5 or 6 months old and met her very first puppy, and then kind of the story about how that has been a lifelong love of hers is different animals and pets. So I found little moments of life and proceeded to write just a couple of little parts of stories about how that still is part of her personality today. And so that is my double page layout based on a timeline, and not only did I get that, but I've got some clocks in there as well. So I've hit all of the prompts on this one. Now every load you do not have to scrapbook using the prompts, but they're there for inspiration, and I tend to find that I like that inspiration, and I'm telling stories that I would not otherwise tell. So I really like the prompts. Okay, I'll bring myself back up and we can take a look at the next day. All right, day 5 was inspired by Doc Brown himself and the actors in the movie, and so the story was to scrapbook about how you've drawn inspiration from seemingly different sources. And then because the actor playing Doc Brown was so much taller than the actor playing Marty, they had to use different filming techniques to get them both in the same shots together. Did I use that? Any of that? I don't think I did. Instead, I think this layout was entirely inspired by one of the classes in our scrapbook membership group. And Sarah Scraps, I'll leave her links down below as well, is a teacher in our membership group, and once a month she hosts a class, and this past month was Go-To Designs, and this was one of the designs she had learned from another teacher long ago and was sharing with us how she uses this one. And we're going to be doing a couple of different classes on mixing up this design, so you can see how as a go-to design you can flex it and use it in different ways. So I was able to take that class inspiration and do a and my title Deja Vu is about this picture. And if you remember, because I had just scrapbooked this picture a few days previously, these two pictures are almost identical. Let's see, I'll get them. So yeah, we're all sitting in the same place at the same table with most of the same food. And so I was being snarky with myself and saying deja vu because I had just scrapbooked a very similar picture. That one was Thanksgiving. This one was Christmas. So that's what this layout is all about. So I'm going to keep my notes on here. These notes I keep with my photos in my story binder. And then once I'm done scrapbooking a layout, I paperclip the note on there so I know whose album it goes into and the date that it goes into that album. So that's what all those notes are about. All right, let's take a look at the next day. All right, the next day talks about the theme song for the movie, which was done by Huey Lewis and the News. Let's see. Scrapbook a story about an important relationship, defying money, status, or hard times through the power of love. So that song was written for this movie. And then use a heart on your layout. So this one was about my cats. And this layout has a lot of different things going on behind the scenes in terms of inspiration and design teamwork and all of that stuff. But I had put up a video on my channel about how I created this stamped background, and I had so much fun making this background, and I am in love with this color combo with kind of a navy-ish blue with this kind of citron yellow and the brown. Just so good. So yeah, the power of love of my kitties. And I definitely have a heart on there. So that was that one. All right, the next day, I don't think I used any of the prompts. I know I didn't use a story prompt. Yeah, I didn't use any of the prompts for that one. So this one was another one that I created when I was making this background. I also made this background. So if you want to know how I did that, I have a special video up on those techniques. So I will link you up to all the things. I don't think I need to say it every time, but this was just a really simple layout about a Valentine's Day where we did not much, which is kind of ironic because this year I forgot about Valentine's Day and we ordered some Chinese food. That was our Valentine's Day. All right. So next up we have day 7. Did I pay attention to any of the techniques? And it's nice that you don't have to use all of these prompts, but they can be inspiring. Let's see. It was about the clock tower again, or in a different way. A significant marker in your life or community, like a clock tower would be. And in fact, our town clock tower is under repairs right now. I didn't even think about that when this prompt came up. So there you go. I have another story to tell based on the very same story prompt. So something that was significant, which is my house. So I have this layout about our house, and we tried to sell it once upon a time when it was too small for our needs, and we're kind of back in that same situation where it's too small for our needs again. We're in a multi-generational living situation right now with my oldest kid, and he kind of wants his own space, and we would like him to have his own space, so we want kind of an ADU situation for still being able to have that multi-generational living, but having some separation and some privacy. So this is that story. What was the technique prompt? Create an iconic title with extra large embellishment. Not exactly. I don't think I was paying too much attention to that part of the prompt. So let's move on to the next one. Day 9 was about Biff Tanner, who was the antagonist of the movie. Let's see how it changed. So because this is a time travel movie, they go back in time and meet the bully of the day, and then they preview a timeline where things had gone totally differently. And so the story is, we don't always know the results of our actions or words. And then scrapbook about something kind. Instead of being bullied, show scrapbook about something the opposite of that. For the technique, soften the harsh edges on your layout. Use curves, scallops, or circles. I just kind of went with a little bit of circles in my pattern and the curves of the heart, so that's where I went with that. I did talk about a kind act that I do every year. I make Easter cards for a senior meals program where they get their meals delivered to them because they can't, it's in a rural community, so it can be really hard for some of these seniors to get into town because a lot of them can't drive anymore. So at any rate, their Easter meal goes out and they get an Easter card from me, and I work on that with a friend who works at the senior center. So that is what this layout is all about, and I had a good time just using bits of leftover pattern papers and just kind of doing a whole row of embellishments, which is not really something I've done before, so that was kind of fun. All right, next up, day 10 was about one of the main characters' laughs. Is being very distinctive, so scrapbook about a distinctive feature. The technique was to use bold pattern. Not so bold with the pattern, but this is a digital layout that I did, and I've printed it on, it's hard to see that, but it's on just an 8.5 by 11 photo paper. And I was talking about my skin. I used to have a very large mole next to my left eye, and I had to have that one, well, I didn't have to. I chose to have that one removed because it started growing eyelashes. It had a deep pocket in there, and every once in a while, this is TMI, so if you want to skip this part, every once in a while I would pull out 5 to 10 eyelashes from that little pocket. So that one went, but I have so many other moles and things on my skin. Not my favorite part about my skin, but it is what it is. All right, so all the products on this one are from Tracy Reed, and it's a digital layout, so I just want to make sure I give credit where credit is due. So next up is about Uncle Joey, who I don't remember that part of the movie very well. I guess he was in trouble a lot and ended up in jail. Scrapbook about something you enjoyed as a child and have shared with children in your life that you still enjoy today. And then the technique was to use stripes. So yeah, I definitely got the stripes going on. And I was kind of crafty as a kid and not super crafty. I definitely really loved the Hallmark store and all the pens and pencils and stationery and stickers. And so that led into definitely my crafty life as an adult. And in my early 20s, I did start doing all of this stuff. And for a while, 4 years, I taught a kids card class, and we had a good time and got messy and made cards. And I love sharing our crafty world with the kids. So hopefully they will come into that crafty world as adults and keep the industry alive. All right, let's see what's next. Day 12 was the story of how I met your father, and in the movie the story has a legend to it, but it wasn't always true. So the story prompt was talk about some family lore, whether it was true or not, and the technique was to use tinsel as a curtain backdrop. Oh, because of the curtain backdrop in the prom scene in the movie. I didn't do that, obviously, but I did talk about a story that was definitely lore when I was growing up, and that is about my great-grandfather who immigrated from Denmark to the United States, I think before my grandfather was born. And the story went that he worked at the Kellogg cereal factory, and that as soon as he started learning English, they fired him so that he wouldn't give away the Kellogg cereal secret. Only it turns out that story is not true, or probably not true. We still don't know. But based on all of these photos that my dad had gotten his hands on from the 1920s, he appeared to be a tailor, and he's pictured in a lot of camping pictures where he's wearing full suits while they're car camping back in the 1920s. So that is a really interesting part to the story. And oh, I didn't use tinsel, but I did use sparkle. So I have these teeny tiny sparkly stars that I've added. So I did sort of get, we call that being prompt adjacent, where I sort of got that one into the prompt. So that was a really fun layout to tell. And this actually is a picture of that album that my dad sent to me so I could tell the story. So that was that one. Day 13 was about the Twin Pines Mall, which is a mall in the movie, and it starts giving clues to the time travel aspect of the movie when they show that mall in different scenes. So this talks about a small detail of something in your life that you notice that may go unnoticed by others. So those were clues in the movie that people may have missed the first time watching it. And I told a story. This is another digital layout. All products are Tracy Reed. That I told of. I almost forgot that this tree is going to be blooming soon in my yard, or would have been blooming soon in my yard. We had to have it cut down last summer because it's dying, and it's hard to see, but there's a picture of the dead branches. And I just picked some photos from the past decades of living here, where I have loved this tree every year, and it leaves pink snow behind from all of the petals, and I would wear flowers in my hair, and it almost went unnoticed that this tree was not blooming this year. So that's how I approached that story prompt. All right, final day, and where I went off the tracks with my load. So there are small prizes along the load route, and if you make your layout every day and post it into the group every day by deadlines, then you're entered into some prizes. I made my layout on time, but because we went to get Chinese food, I forgot to post my layout. So I'm no longer in the running for the prizes, and it made me very grumpy, and I stopped making layouts at that point. So I am off track, but maybe I'll get back on track. I don't know. But I had fun with this layout. So the prompts were based on the Time Machine, which was a DeLorean car. Scrapbook about a memorable entrance or introduction. This story is not that. Inspired by the metallic body of the DeLorean, used metallics. That is what I did. Okay, I remember now. So I just used some very subtle metallics in the form of these little metal brads, and my metallic title there. Ooh, I had the light. There you go. So that is a gold title. So that is what I did with this layout. And I had a good time creating this circle out of these fibers that are in my kit this month. And I used a lot of embellishments on this one, which I don't usually do. So this one is a little bit busy in terms of that. But this was an Easter story from, I believe, a couple years ago. I don't think this was last year. So that was that. All right, and that brings us to the end of this layout share. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. Again, I will leave you all the links down below for everything I talked about today. If any of it interests you, the Counterfeit Kit group is totally free. So if you're interested in that, scrapbook kit building and challenges to use it up, or if you want a very dedicated membership group of scrapbookers to hang out with on a regular basis, I am a fan of scraphappy.org, and I will leave you links to that as well. So until next time, I hope you have an artful day.